As we used to say in New Orleans, bless you boys when the Saints would win. Remember all that talk about the inevitable Bucks, Patriots, Super Bowl in L.A. and another Brady-Belichick reunion? Yeah, fun times.
Yeah.
Fun times. A lot could happen in one weekend.
That's right.
That's right. I say we start with the Bucks. We start with the Bucks, and something that we've rarely seen last night, of course, was a Tom Brady-led offense be shut out. Not just shut out 9-0. Like, that's a different kind of shut out. There's like 28-0, 35-0. 9-0 is a different level of shutout. It took single-digit points for them to beat you. So that's adding insult to injury. But to add injury to insult, on the bright side, both Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette appear to have avoided major injury. Conversely, Chris Godwin, initially it was reported that it was an MCL sprain, would be done for the rest of the regular season, back for the playoffs. Well, just within the last 20 minutes, we find out that Chris Godwin actually suffered a torn ACL and is done for the rest of 2021 and into the 2022 postseason. So I'll narrow last night's events and today's breaking news down to a simple question. Are the Bucks in trouble?
Yes. The Bucks are in trouble, but they're in trouble not because of these injuries. I mean, these injuries don't help. I think they were in trouble before this because they've got at least a couple of teams in the NFC, and that's going to surprise you. One of them, it's not going to be a shock to you. One of them, Green Bay. I think Green Bay has improved since last year. I don't think Tampa has improved on last year's performance. They brought everybody back, but last year's not the same. It's not the same as it was last year. Gronk is injured more this year than he was last year. Antonio Brown didn't have any issues last year, and he's got some issues this year. It's just a little things are a little bit off. The offense is better, but overall the defense is not as good as it was last year, in my opinion. You got Green Bay. You've got, surprise, surprise, the LA Rams, who already have beaten Tampa Bay and have beaten them the last 2 years, 2 years in a row. And
that was hilarious. That was hilarious just now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, finish. I'm not even going to explain why it was hilarious. Continue making your point.
And you got the Cowboys. So the NFC, my point is, the NFC is not like Tampa. I love the headline that we just put up there. Oh, injuries could derail Buccaneers' path to the end. Wait a minute. It's not just injuries. How about these other teams? These are just traffic cones who are just showing up, and Tampa is supposed to do some maneuverability, and everything's going to be fine. They're going to be going to L.A. They're going to the Super Bowl for the second year in a row. They are in trouble because of the competition, and now it got even harder because they don't have all the weapons that Tom Brady needs. And Brady, make no mistake, this is a Brady-centered team. This team cannot win if Brady doesn't have all of those weapons working at a high level. So, no, I didn't pick them to go to the Super Bowl this year.
And maybe that's why I'm inclined.
I was not tempted. I wasn't tempted to pick them again. They're not going to the Super Bowl. Nice season, but they're not going to L.A.
Maybe that's why I'm inclined to disagree with you right now, because I did pick him to go to the Super Bowl, and the reason I picked him was that man. I picked him because Brady. And for a couple of reasons, with all due respect to Chris Godwin, who's a phenomenal player, and you hate to see his season go down, but this team is built to withstand his injury. The reason why, there's a number of reasons why I don't think the Bucs are in trouble at all. First and foremost, they're done playing the Saints in the regular season. So there's that. Okay, that particular form of kryptonite, they can turn the page on that. Now, if they see him in the postseason, I might be inclined to be a little worried, but they beat him last year in the postseason, despite being owned by the Saints in the regular season. So, they say the postseason is a different animal. Maybe that bodes well for the Saints, for the Bucs if they match up with the Saints. But for now, they seem to be done with the Saints. We'll see how the seeding lines up come playoff time. Speaking of those seeds, the number one seed's not out of the question. They remain in schedule. They got the Panthers twice and the Jets. The Panthers head coach and quarterback, my guy, Cam Newton, they're not on the same page. So much of the head coach is throwing the quarterback under the bus every chance he gets. And then they got the Jets, everybody's homecoming game, everybody's get-right game these days, okay? So they could still potentially win out. And who knows what seed they could end up with, maybe even number 1 seed if Green Bay should slip up. And Dallas for that matter. And you're right about Dallas. Dallas maybe has the most dependable unit in the NFC, if not all of football right now, and that's Dallas's defense. And the other thing is, and this goes back to a conversation we had last week and the last couple of weeks, I told you Antonio Brown was never going anywhere. There was never a question. Yeah. Like Bruce Arians could act publicly as though he was going to hold Antonio Brown accountable for, forging his vaccination status. Antonio Brown was never going anywhere, and last night was the reason why. If memory serves, the Bucs signed Antonio Brown when wide receiver was not an obvious area of need, but they signed him as depth and as insurance because Evans and Godwin had been nicked up in the past. And for that matter, Tom Brady loves him. And so now fast forward, when the league is effectively thrown in the towel on COVID testing anyway, you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Antonio Brown today is not a luxury, he is a necessity. So you have the luxury of having an Antonio Brown as your number 2 receiver when Godwin goes down.
Hey, Mike, this is not in the book of Proverbs, but let me add a proverb. I'm going to add this one for free. If you say to yourself, Antonio Brown is a necessity for us, your team's in trouble. Antonio Brown, at this stage of his career, all he is a luxury item. But if you got to depend on Antonio Brown, if you tell him, either you verbalize it or everybody knows that's the vibe, you're in trouble. So they in trouble.
Well, they depended on him last year. They depended on him last year, and how did that work out?
He was a luxury.
Worked out
quite well. He was a luxury.
Well.
They didn't.
You can say what you want about Antonio Brown.
They didn't need him last year.
Above the neck, and his decision making, and his personality, and his idiosyncrasies, and his bad behavior, this, that, and the other. But as a football player,
anything else?
You cannot deny he can still play, which is why he's still on the team. Which is why I told you they wasn't letting him go, because A, they needed him, and B, somebody else would have scooped him up with the quickness. And the last point on why the Bucs aren't in trouble, which is if I'm a Bucs fan or member of the Bucs organization, while I'm upset that Chris Godwin is out, I'm exhaling that it wasn't worse because, as you mentioned, Brady looked like it was 2019 New England supporting cast at one point at the end of last night's game with all the people that were out. This year more than any other, because of COVID and because of injuries, this year more than any other is the most cross that bridge when we get to its season that I can remember, okay? You have 17 weeks. It's already a battle of attrition. Historically, it's been a battle of attrition. And this year you have COVID running out of control, even with the difference in protocols, okay? So maybe people are more available than we thought they might be based on the Omicron outbreak and everybody going on COVID lists in these past few days and different postponements or what have you. Maybe it won't be as bad. All I'm saying is right now you can sit here and say, oh, there's no way the Bucs can make it back to the Super Bowl. They took the long route last year. They didn't win the division last year. And I know last year is last year. I know they're not the same team as last year. But as long as 12 is there, and he's healthy, and if that offensive line can protect him against every defensive line not named the New Orleans Saints defensive line, I refuse to count out the Bucs in the NFC. They're not in trouble. Everything's right there for them still.
You know who doesn't think that way? I'll tell you who doesn't think that way. Especially that as long as 12 is there, they'll be all right. 12. Tom Brady doesn't think that way because that was part of the issue for him in New England. He got very frustrated with everything that was around him because at this stage of his career, he is great. He is the greatest. Sorry, Bill Belichick. He is the greatest player in NFL history and the greatest player you've ever coached. I don't know if you missed that. I'm not going to, just as an aside, Bill Belichick was asked last week who the greatest player he ever coached was or is. He said, Lawrence Taylor, and anybody who's in second is not even close. It's Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor is head and shoulders above everybody else I've ever coached. That's what he said. Anyway, no, it's Tom Brady. But even Tom Brady at this stage of his career needs supports. He needs certain things to be in place. And
everything I just said is under the assumption that they're healthy.
That's why he was frustrated.
Everything I just said. Well, he's also frustrated because Dennis Allen and the Saints just have his number.
You do that. You do that thing.
What
you do that thing.
Oh, I almost cussed just now. What the hell else am I supposed to do?
Come on, Cletus.
No, but I'm saying, like, I'm Michael.
Come with it.
Like, we could have every conversation. First of all, none of us can predict the future. Let's start with that, okay? Number two, with everybody going on COVID and people getting hurt, this time last week, were you saying the Bucs were in trouble? No, you weren't.
Yes.
They escaped the Bills by the skin of their teeth, and they had won 4 straight. Last night, they go up against their... We didn't say they were in trouble with the playoffs. Everything I'm saying, the assumption on a part of everything, every team you pointed out, that's a problem in the NFC. If they have the wrong injury, that changes the math. That's all I'm saying. So, yes, he needs help, obviously. If he doesn't have that help, it's a different conversation.
Mike, my point is, once you have the injuries, so and this applies in most sports. This is the way I look at it. Once the major injuries hit you, then I take it to the extreme. The late great Earl Weaver, baseball manager of the Orioles, used to say when they ask him about injured players, he say, "I'm here to discuss the living, not the dead." Now, okay, that's a little grim, and that's a little extreme. But his point is, hey, if they're not here, I don't want to talk about them because I can't assume that out 3 weeks is going to mean 3 weeks. Out 3 weeks might mean 6 weeks. So if you're telling me that Chris Godwin is going to be out for 3 weeks,
he's out for the season. He's done for the season.
Okay, out for the season. Okay, done. Mike Evans a little banged up. I'm saying not going to get healthy.
Week to week.
I need to see.
You don't know that.
I take the Patrick. I don't know it. Right. It's the calculation I make. It's my hypothesis. Okay. I take the Patrick Mahomes approach. I'll believe it when I see it. All right, see it when I believe it. I believe it when I see it. Whatever he said, he turned it around. But I'm going to go with his language. Now that they're banged up, I'm going to assume that's going to be a problem. That's going to be but everybody doesn't have their version of Chris Godwin out for the season. Everybody doesn't have Mike Evans week to week. When you get to that position and it's mid-December, on the doorstep of the winter solstice, give me that gray out. Once you get that, it's not going to turn around. It's not going to get better.
Okay.
So
I
know you're trying to salvage your Super Bowl pick. I know you're trying to salvage it.
No, I'm not. No, it's the same reason you brought up the Rams. You're just saying that to fit your opinion, and that's fine. If you want to say they're done because Chris Godwin is out, that's fair. If you want to say they're done because you just don't like how they played, that's fair too.
I didn't say that.
All I'm trying to say
either one of those things.
I know you didn't.
I didn't say those.
All I'm trying to say is just like they have injuries, we got 3 weeks left in the regular season. By the time we get to the postseason, you nor I nor anybody else knows who's going to be the number 1 seed, number one. Number two, you nor I nor anybody else knows how the bracket is going to play out. That's number two. And number three, you nor I nor anybody else knows who's going to be hurt for the other teams. So you can say, oh, well, the Bucs, they're not healthy, they won't get healthy. Well, they may be healthier by the playoffs. And Green Bay or Dallas or somebody else could have an injury that can completely change the calculus. I mentioned the Bucs and the Patriots.
You were wrong about 2 out of 3 of those things.
Okay. Well,
the number 1 seed is going to be the Green Bay Packers. I know. Okay. You said you don't know.
Did they clinch? Did they clinch up? They clinched the division in the playoffs. I missed the part where they clinched number 1. I missed that part.
Come back and see me later. Come back. Didn't you learn your lesson last week? I gave you your comeuppance last week, and already you forgot.
No, I didn't get my comeuppance. You like Bart? You hit. You are a 198 hitter that hits a couple of home runs. Okay. Let's just move.
Can I just keep it moving? When we get to Detroit, because I see them in your feed, I'm all up in your feed, right? I'm all up in your business. What up,
as usual?
What up, Mike Smith? When we get to them.
Yes, we will.
Does that give me the 2-0? Did that give me? I think I had a 4-for-4 game.
Maybe.
I told you all about your Arizona Cardinals.
Maybe.
I gave you soup to nuts, A to Z, chapter and verse. I told you all about them, about their systems, and you still don't want to listen. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.